This is Take Flight with Mark Whittle.
Welcome to Take Flight. I'm Mark Whittle, former city worker turned performance coach, and this is your place for inspiration and education on ways to optimise your performance and find your purpose.
On the sofa tonight is Zoe Hardman. There she is!
And it's a bit of a pinch me moment in my career. I get goosebumps thinking about it. You know, this is a dream job that I've wanted to do since I was a little girl.
Good morning. It is just after 6 o'clock here on Heart.
And it was the most painful work moment of my life. I've never spoken about this. I sort of locked it away.
What feels like something that was really big for you?
You know, that inner child that we are so frightened of and we run away from, that we never want to go back to for whatever reason. You know, our kids are our biggest teachers because they're living it. My mental health is quite up and down. Sometimes I experience extreme happiness and then sometimes I experience extreme lows, but that's my character. I have done so much work on myself. I am able to cope with things on a day-to-day basis so much better than I was before.
Cabin crew, passengers, prepare for takeoff.
Zoe, welcome to the Take Flight podcast.
Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks for coming. This is amazing. My wife, I have to say this first, she said that you saved her after her pregnancy. Yeah.
Because of the
Podcast. She
Maybe my mum
listens
was,
to it
yeah.
religiously and just got so much from it. And it was a particularly difficult time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I start with saying thank you for that.
Well, that's lovely to hear because that's our whole main focus of starting the podcast and starting Made by Mamas was to help parents because I did not know what I was getting myself into when I became a mother. I thought it was going to be, you know, Little House on the Prairie and it would just be all sunshine and flowers and it just wasn't. So it was a real baptism of fire at the beginning and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I thought if I'm feeling like this, there must be so many other parents feeling the same.
Yeah.
That's why we started the conversation. So tell your wife thanks for listening.
Yeah. And how did it start then, the actual podcast?
So the podcast started with a very random meeting with Georgia, who is my partner on the podcast. And I was basically, cut long story short, I fell in love with a really handsome rugby player who you'll be pleased to know I'm still married to, which is great. And when I met him, he was a bit swazzy. He was playing at Quins and I was like, I've got myself a rugby player. He plays at Quins. This is great. And then after about 3 months, he dropped into conversation that he'd signed to Gloucester. And I was like, oh, Gloucester. Is that near London? Where's that? And he was like, it's not near London. And I thought, oh, shit, how's this going to work? Because I live in London. My whole life is in London. Anyway, cut long story short, flash forward a year, I was pregnant. We were doing long distance and I had to basically up sticks and move to Cheltenham, green wellies and the park. I was thinking, what the hell am I going to do? And I went to a coffee shop for some breakfast one day and there was this really sweet looking blonde girl on the next door table who was also pregnant. And as I walked past her, she smiled at me, but it was kind of like I don't really feel that comfortable smile. And I said, are you all right? And she said, oh, actually, not really. I've been dragged to Cheltenham. My husband plays football for Cheltenham.
No way.
I'm from London. And I was like, no fucking way. And we swapped numbers.
That's crazy.
We ended up living on the same road.
What?
So it was kind of real universe stuff that brought us together. And then we had our kids 2 weeks apart. We spent the entire first 6 months walking around the park, going to the gym together, doing the Google searches in the middle of the night together, figuring out that we didn't have a clue what we were doing. And we thought, hang on a minute, wouldn't it be great if there was a safe space for parents to come, share all of this stuff and be in one big club together with no judgment and a lot of love. And that's why we started Made by Mamas.
Amazing.
Cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
I often think what life would be like without her.
Yeah.
She's a very special person. She's a bit yin to my yang. She's like, I cry all the time. She never cries.
You need that though, don't you?
Exactly.
You need that big time.
Yeah.
The safety blanket.
Yeah. She's brilliant.
I remember those late night Google as well. I didn't do them, but I'd roll over and I'd see the glow on my wife's face of the Google of trying to figure out how to keep a baby alive.
Genuinely, that was one of the first things I think I Googled. Also, I remember Googling postnatal depression and, tears and post-traumatic stress from birth and all these kind of big things that were coming up that weren't ever really spoken about.
Yeah.
I just did not have a clue how to parent. And I still think some days, at the end of doing the job that I know how to do, which is broadcasting, I get home and then there's the biggest job in the world to do and I'm tearing my hair out about it, So it is a roller coaster of a ride. Do you enjoy being a dad?
I love it.
Yeah.
I've grown to love it. She's only 2, but the first year I was just jarred out of my reality of who I thought I was. My identity was completely been ripped apart. We were both super independent. We had our own lives, like me and my wife, and we'd like come together, and it worked really well. We had our own friendship groups and all that sort of stuff. And it was just so different. We moved out of London, lockdown happened 6 weeks later. So we're in a new town that we didn't know. And then we became parents with like zero support.
Yeah.
And that's kind of unfair because our families were great, but there was only so much they could do. They couldn't come to the house.
Sure.
They couldn't do anything really. So it was pretty rough, to be honest.
It's really rough, and you're figuring it out together, but you're also trying to keep your own relationship going.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, hang on a minute. All the things that we used to do, just him and me, or you and her, that's just gone now. And you can't see the light. And yes, you're enjoying, you know, all of those incredible moments of falling in love with your baby and bonding and everything else that they tell you. But actually, you are grieving a life that you are now no longer living. And it takes, I think, in my experience, quite a long time to come out the other side and accept your new life.
Yeah.
Your new life is amazing.
Yeah.
But the old life, I was like desperately trying to hang on to.
Yeah,
And I also think parenting sets you up to fail. Even the language in the parenting books, like there are 5 definite cries that your baby will do, and you will know all of those cries. And I was thinking, I don't fucking know what that cry means. Like, are you hungry? Have you done a poo? What, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm failing because I don't know my baby's cry. So from the word go, it feels like a bit of a set you up to fail situation.
Yeah, I did a talk at a festival. Do you know Ollie Ollerton from SS Desmond?
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Like, I love Ollie.
Yeah.
And we did this little festival over in Sussex a couple of weeks ago. And as people do who listen to the talk, they come and like ask you questions and stuff afterwards. And I'll do like my little 30 seconds of Gary Vee coaching, like little, go do this, or, you know, the little quippy little things. But there was this one woman, and she was just like, it was a weird question. I guess she was trying to understand in her mind why I was with Ollie. She was like, so what's the most extreme thing you've ever done then? And I was like, oh, fucking hell, on the spot. All right. And then I like allowed myself to think about it for like 10 seconds. And I said, becoming a dad. Easy.
Great answer.
Easily the hardest thing I've ever done. But yeah, now it's amazing. And then, do you know what? Even this morning, like dropping her off at nursery, and she screams now because she's so aware of the fact that she's going there and I'm leaving. And it's like,
She also doesn't know when you're coming back because they have no concept of time. So when you leave them at nursery, they're like, am I going to see dad again?
Yeah.
You know, that's where their head goes. But they're also very good at doing that. Did the nursery call you afterwards and go, she's absolutely fine, she was fine a couple of minutes after you left? I'm like, are they just saying this, or is she still like screaming in the corner?
I know. You never know, do you?
No.
You've got to trust people you don't even know. Like, we didn't even get to see the nursery like before she went in because of lockdown. They didn't even let us go in and see it. So you just got to like trust people.
Of course you have. I remember, I look back on this now and I think, oh my God, what was I doing? We had a situation where we didn't have any childcare. And it was one of those things where I just kept ignoring, thinking someone will just walk in. Mary Poppins or Mrs. Doubtfire will just come in and be like, don't worry, dear, I'll sort this. So that didn't happen. So we got this lady, bless her. She was from Brazil. She didn't really speak very much English. In fact, she spoke no English at all. She arrived. I'd already employed her. I'd had one sort of conversation with her over the phone. I was like, yeah, you sound lovely. You love kids. Great. Brilliant. Anyway, I just left her with Luna. Like, obviously, she was safe. She was at home. You know, I was fine. Like, she'd been recommended by a friend. So fine. Anyway, I came back. Luna was crying in the chair, in the high chair. She was feeding her, trying to like force feed her cold fish fingers, which weren't cooked in the middle. Oh. And Luna was screaming. And I was thinking, oh no, like this has gone so. You know, it was just there was food everywhere. It was just a really bad situation. I was like, thank you, but I don't think this is going to work. Thanks for it. And then immediately you just get a gut reaction, you know, don't you, that you've got to get that person away from. But you have to trust, because if you don't trust, who else are you going to let look after your kid?
Yeah.
That was I won't do that again. I'd be doing more checks, I think.
Yeah, do more
Can
checks.
they cook fish fingers is the first one.
And speak English.
And can they speak English? Yeah, exactly.
That sounds so close to like your own Family Guy.
Yes,
You know, like it's like, no.
It's exactly that. Yeah. What happens if there's an emergency? 999. What? I'm like, oh God, no. Anyway, I've got to go to work. Bye. I sound like a bad mother, don't I? But
No, I mean, something I wanted to ask you is that you appear to be like super happy. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah.
What makes me happy is my work. My work makes me so fulfilled. And it's not just happy, it's like a long-term 20 years feeling of fulfillment that I've always strived to kind of feel. And it has been highs, lows, everything in between, but it's given me so much satisfaction. And I think at the moment I'm doing the big show at Heart. I'm sitting in for Amanda. She's away for the summer. And it's a bit of a pinch me moment in my career. So I'm like, every single day I'm getting up, I'm thinking, I get goosebumps thinking about it. You know, this is a dream job that I've wanted to do since I was a little girl, and it's happening. But I try not to let the sadness come in because I know that I've only got 7 shows left and then Amanda takes back over. So I just try and stay very focused on that. So work gives me a lot of fulfillment.
7 shows left at this chapter.
In this chapter. And then hopefully there'll be more of it. My kids and my life at home make me really happy. That is something that I always focus on because it gives me a lot of, I guess, achievement again, but just there's this a real childlike energy at home where we're always dancing and laughing and playing, and it's fun and it's messy and it's wild, and I want them to be out. We're really outdoorsy, so that's really great. I struggle with, or have historically struggled with, and still sometimes do, a feeling of sadness around. My mental health is quite up and down. Sometimes I experience extreme happiness and then sometimes I experience extreme lows. But that's my character. I'm a Scorpio and I'm not frightened of my lows. My lows have been really low with, various pillars that have been knocked down in my life. And my menopause, or going into early menopause, has been a big sadness for me. It's sent me into flux with how I feel about myself and my level of worth and how people will see me, how my husband will see me, what my kids will think when they look at me, if they see me crying. So that's been a big, real kind of shake in my life recently that I've had to deal with. So I'm not frightened of my lows, but the highs don't come without the flip side of that coin. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it resonates so much.
Does it?
I'm a Scorpio. I'm a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But then sometimes, because my perception of you is super happy all the time, and it's because we see that, don't we?
Yeah.
But that's because our work is out there. That's the times that we're feeling very purposeful, very driven,
yes,
very present, and then we allow ourselves to have those lower moments, and then it's my wife has to put up with that stuff, or your family has to see it. But I also think that's so important when you're saying that. I'm like, your kids need to see you cry. You need to know that's all right to feel like that. It's okay to be nurtured, if your husband gives you a cuddle, it's going to be all right, your kids see that, it's like, that's the way to behave, that's the way to allow yourself to feel different emotions and stuff. That's what I'm because I'm a coach, I'm a super overanalyzer of everything. I'm like, oh my god, she just saw me on my phone, so now she's going to be addicted to her phone.
Oh my god, I know. A big thinker, a deep thinker about stuff like that. Yeah, I feel the same. But I often say to myself, how can we ever give our kids a real perspective on life and a real good kind of equal starting point on what happens in their life if we don't show them the laughter but also the tears? I'm not suggesting that sobbing uncontrollably in front of your kids and frightening them is the right way to go, but something happened recently in the family and it affected me really badly, and I remember walking into various different rooms to get away from them so I could cry, and then Luna came in and she's like a bumblebee. She just finds me wherever I am, and then she's got this incredible emotional EQ where she just allows me to be vulnerable with her, and then she just says, I'm just going to hug you until you stop crying. And so we had this really beautiful moment where we shared these tears together, and she didn't really know why I was crying, but she really felt it. But we finished on a real high, saying, I said to her, Mummy needs to be able to share these tears, and you never be frightened to cry, and tell the person you love. We went through all the things that made her feel okay at the end of it. It's a really beautiful moment. It makes me feel quite emotional thinking about it, but I'm glad I showed that to her.
Yeah, I can feel that. How old is she?
She's only 5, but she's the moon, so she's just like this powerful little thing which gets everything.
But I see that in my daughter. That's why we call her Lyra, because it's the star constellation, the energy of that. But they're so intelligent and emotionally intelligent and aware and everything at such a young age. Yeah, because they're closer to source. They've just been born. They're we're so far away from that now, so we've lost touch or connection with whatever that higher power thing is.
But do you feel that way about the way that you live your life with your wife and daughter? Because I would say that if you're so aware of it, bringing that child energy back, that inner child that we are so frightened of and we run away from, that we never want to go back to for whatever reason, our kids are our biggest teachers because they're living it. They are that little child. They don't really have any inhibition. So
inevitably your partner ends up being someone who has similar coping mechanisms to you, right?
Right.
So a lot of the time I feel like my wife and I, we have a similar sort of retreat pattern. So if things are getting difficult, whereas bringing our baby into the world has forced me, definitely, and I know it's the same with her, to look at things that we didn't want to before.
So, for example, in the past, if something big came up, you might both of you retreat, get defensive.
Yeah, I go into kind of fuck the world, I'll prove you wrong.
Right.
Pattern. She goes into I'll put the world on my back and look after everything, kind of
okay, the carer. She's the empath.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But both of those, although they're from a different place, it's the same action from the outside in. If, you know,
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But now you've got Lyra, you have to stay and deal.
Oh God, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
gun to their head, kind of like I can't make her feel like how I feel.
Yeah. We're coming out the other side now, me and my husband Doz, because we are, you know, our kids are out of nappies and little one's going to school in September, the last one. So that the youngest boy, Kit, the only boy. And now we're really focusing on our relationship again
Yeah,
and really pulling it apart and building it back up and trying to communicate in a better way, because I just think when you're in that, we've got 3 kids, remember. Obviously, my eldest is my stepdaughter, so it didn't birth her, but I've known her since she was 18 months old. You're just in a state of chaos, I think, as a couple. There are the down times, but the down times are normally knackered. For us, it was a pattern of either falling into bed at 8 o'clock at night or going absolutely wild, staying up all night, boozing, partying, having a great time, and then having to deal with the kids the next day and being like, oh God. So actually, it was like, does that any of that resonate with you?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people listening would probably hit the mark on
like,
that as well.
It's funny because I was telling you about this the day that I did yesterday. It's like a day and a half intensive coaching stuff for me to identify my values. And like part of it was sort of you get to the end and you get your commitments of what you want to do and how you're going to make that change in your life, basically, with the new awareness and the new understanding. And one of them, I was like, right, it was between now and Christmas. It's like 1 night away with the missus. And he was like, 1 night in 6 months. I was like, 2 nights? It's like realistically
4 nights?
But yeah, it's like I have to get like grandma to come and stay, and then,
I know.
like, you know, and then we want to go to London and get a hotel. It's like realistically in 6 months, like once.
Yeah.
It's like so hard.
Yeah, and then what you should be doing as a couple is going to a spa, hotel, get the deep tissue massages, wear the free slippers.
Yeah, well,
you know.
we did that. We went to the Ned.
Yeah.
This was like the first time we went away. It was in a year. We went to the Ned in Bang.
Lovely, fancy.
It was lovely. It was far. It was too much for. It was a lot of money for like 24 hours. But then we both had a cold. Lyra brought us a cold back from nursery.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
I was like up all night at the cold. Just like I had golf on the TV. Just like this is brilliant.
I'm paying £650 for this room.
For the golf channel.
No, I know. It's hard to get the balance right, but I think, and also I don't know if you found this. You're quite in the mix because obviously Lyra's only 2, but as they start to get a little bit older and they start to need you less. I mean, he's only 4, so he's still, you know, they all still need me, but it's a different kind of need. They pick and choose it. At that point, you can then start looking at your relationship again, I think. We're in a position where we've got a bit more time now. And that is a really important one for me to get right, because growing up, you know, my parents were seemingly very in love with each other. And, you know, I had the most amazing upbringing, watched 2 people with intense chemistry, and there's a lot of love in the house, a lot of laughter. And, you know, it was funny because when my dad died 9 years ago yesterday, actually, I thought my mum would be in absolute pieces and, you know, spend a lot of time grieving for him. And she was literally like, whoa, it's my time to shine. And like had a new boyfriend very quickly and did all these things. And I was suddenly like, hang on a minute, you just spent 35 years of your life. And she was like, yeah, but you know, there's certain things you don't know about relationships and stuff. And she was just like, your father and I drifted. And I guess what I'm saying is that they maybe didn't spend enough time really putting back in because they were so focused on us that, you know, the communication starts to break down. You may end up staying together, but actually your poles apart.
Your
connection's gone.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose that connection with him. I want to focus on that.
Amazing. It's the biggest takeaway from my day and a half was that.
From yesterday?
To get my connection back with my wife,
Yeah. So why do you think you've lost it? Because of baby?
Yeah. Well, I think there's loads of reasons why. I've been with her since we were basically 18. So like you change so much. Change at every chapter, don't you? And when you've been together that long, like you're so entangled with everything.
Yeah.
So I think there's that. I think like the main thing is having Lyra. It's just like 2 years where you're kind of like ships in the night.
Yeah.
She didn't sleep for 18 months. That was brutal.
God.
I've heard people have had much worse, but like I'm terrible on one night without sleep.
That's enough. Yeah.
And you change so much, don't you, as a parent? You were saying before we started, like it literally changes you as a human being
overnight.
And both of you have changed. Your priorities change. Like probably the best thing I saw was how like amazing she was as a mum, and like just general appreciation for women. I was like, this is like amazing, because you can see mums and my own mum and everything else, but you don't appreciate it till you literally see what happens.
I know.
So yeah, I think it's time, like you said, you know, our quality time together is watching Netflix, like stuck on the sofa at the end of the day because we're so tired.
I know, and I say this to Doz all the time, that even in the death, I need there to be life. So even in the taking the bins out, or the shopping list, pick up the bananas, get the milk, whatever it is, there has to be an element of life. Otherwise, it's just, going through the mundaneness of it, and there's no spark. Like, it's not all going to be a cabaret on a Saturday night. I get that, but I still want to have a laugh, and I still want there to be that playful energy between the two of us. I mean, it's so boring. It can be so boring. Have you picked up the kids? What time are you doing that? Have you packed the swimming costume? I'm like, oh, fucking hell, I don't want to tell any more lists to any more people.
Human checklist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't it? I just want to be wild with my husband and have a nice time with him, thanks.
Yeah, I know. I want to throw socks at her again. That was the routine.
Throw socks at her.
Take my socks off at the end of the day, and that's the...
Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
Did you laugh at that?
Yeah.
Did she laugh at that?
So it depends how hard I throw them and how many.
My husband's got this hilarious habit where from his rugby days, where he's, goes in, has a shower, gets his towel, dries himself off, walks back into the bedroom with the towel, and then I watch him actively fold his towel into a perfect square and put it on the floor. He just puts it on the fucking floor. Like, you folded it up. Why don't you just put it? You could just put it on the bed. I mean, that's slightly annoying because it's wet. But, to put it on the floor sometimes leaves it a perfect square on the stairs. The other day I was thinking, oh no, I think this might be a breakable offence if you carry on doing this. That's where we've got to. But it does make us giggle. And I think, going back to your socks comment, you've got to find the funny in the
Definitely.
the mundane.
Definitely. I love that. Would you say find life in the death?
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time talking about kids, but I just think that so this is because it's called Take Flight.
Yes.
It's really about the leap of faith, or pursuing the thing that you really care about. And on that journey, there's so much change. Like, you do change as a person. And I've done that from when I stopped being a footballer to when I stopped working in the city, to all those things. Like, you're a different person, and you do, like you're saying, you grieve the old version. It's still a part of you, it's still here, but you do grieve that. And I think kids is the best example of that. So whether people are starting a business or about to even just do their first 5K, you're going to change things.
For sure.
But I think just your experience as a parent and everything you've said is amazing, because that can prepare people to do those or make those big decisions.
Yeah.
Have you got what would you say? Because I know there's so many examples, but like a leap of faith in your life, what would you say would be, I don't want to say the biggest, but what stands out for you? What feels like something that was really big for you?
It's actually quite delicate and intricate, but it was a very poignant moment for me. So I got my first TV show when I was 21 years old. I don't know if you know about Playing It Straight.
Yeah, I heard about this.
I
listened to, it was a podcast that you were on, literally on the way in this morning.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So that was my first TV show that I did. And I knew at that point I wanted to be a presenter. And that gave me a really amazing platform.
Can I ask, when did you decide you wanted to be a presenter? Because
I was about 7 years old.
What made you decide that?
We spent a lot of time in Kenya, and my dad always filmed stuff. He always had his camcorder, like the old school 80s camcorders. Yeah. And I mean, it was the 80s. We were there weren't phones, there was no Instagram or anything like that. So my dad would just film us on safari and, by the house. And every time a camera was on me, I would just be like that, da, da. And I'd be like, hello. And then he just started filming me and he'd be like, Zoe, or he used to call me Zoggerty. Like, Zoggerty, tell me where we are. And I'd be like, we're on safari. We've just seen X, Y, and Z, or we're doing this, or we're doing that. And it became habitual at home for Dad to get the camcorder out, film me and my sister. My sister was so shy, so she'd be like, oh, I'm not doing this. And then I would, be pushing her out the way, being the little bratty younger sister that I was, and try to take the limelight. I don't know. And then, it just became a thing. I got so used to doing it. I loved it. I remember just getting that feeling of total, like I said to you earlier on, real joy, real happiness from it, even at that age. And then my cousin was a director. She was directing Top of the Pops and various other BBC dramas. She got me a little role in this BBC drama called I've never spoken about this, called No Bananas, which was like a war film. And I got a little speaking extra role in it and had my hair and makeup done. And can I have a stick of rock, please, mister? That's what I had to say.
That's great, you remember.
I've never seen the tape of it. I haven't seen it. No.
Right, we're going to dig it out.
We're going to dig it out. And then I did drama camps and summer camps, and I went on Top of the Pops. I think weirdly it was when Jamie Theaks, who I'm obviously co-hosting with at the moment, haven't told him this either. I think it was when he was presenting it. And I was shuffling to try and be in the back of shot. ready for All Saints to come on. And I just loved the mechanics of telly and live TV and how it worked. And I just felt like I'd already at that age found it. So I went and did my work experience at the BBC thinking that I was going to meet all these amazing people that could, at the age of 15. And I remember walking, I think her name was Mary. This was like a big reality check. I walked into this room and it was floor to ceiling files. I'm thinking, oh, why have they got me into the file room? And she went, right, your job day one starts here, Zoe. And I went, what? She went, sort those files out. You've got to go through all of them. You've got to sort the paperwork out. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing this. And I did for a week. And then at the end of it, she was like, when you're ready, I'll be the person that will be, because she'd been there for like 25 years already. She was like, I'll do all the intro. She was really kind to me at the end. It was almost like a bit of a initiation.
Yeah. Love that.
I know, but a week of paper cuts, I wasn't into it. Then I got Playing It Straight, which was obviously a few years after that. And that was an amazing experience. And then I sort of had this, I knew where I wanted to go. My parents had left at this point. They'd gone to Kenya. So I was on my own in the UK, living in London. And I just have always had that drive I had to be solo. And I've been solo for a long time. I'd always, as a teenager, I'd just been doing my own thing, really, because they were away a lot in Africa and all that kind of stuff. And then I spent sort of 10 years really in and out of ITV, doing like the Used Car Roadshow and various other shows. And then when I was about 28, I got Take Me Out, The Gossip, which was the turnover show. Remember the phone call from my agent being like, you've done it. And I'd gone through round and round of auditions. It was like a big moment for me. I said, who am I hosting with? They were like, Mark Wright. I was like, what, he's in the jungle? They were like, well, as soon as he comes out, they've had a big meeting. It's going to be him. So I was thinking, oh, this is going to be fun. It was fun. We had a really great time. Unfortunately, it didn't end very well, because I don't know if you know this story, but...
This episode is brought to you by Hux. Hux is a health company created to inspire you to find your daily edge. I've been trying Hux for the last few months, and it's become my trusted health supplement of choice. And I love that its range of products can, and for me should, be used every day from wake until sleep. Hux consists of high-quality, potent supplements across 4 categories. Their superfood blend provides you with 17 superfoods, including vitamin A, B, C and D, and a hit of plant protein. The hydration tablets hydrate you quickly in unbelievably good flavours. Nootropics support those focus periods and long-term brain health. And finally, Hux's sleep products with award-winning ingredients like Levagin to support your recovery through deeper, more restorative sleep. I've been using superfood and hydration for the last few months and have noticed a drastic improvement in sustained energy and my sleep. In fact, having met the team, tried the products and seen the vision, I decided to become an early stage investor myself, and I'm so excited to be a part of this journey. You'll be seeing loads more from Hux, and I can't wait to see and hear from people being supported by the products. To get involved, visit huxhealth.com or @huxhealth on all socials and use the code TF20 for 20% off all products, including their subscription. Thanks guys, I hope you enjoy.
In short, I mean, how do I say this? In short, they dissolved the show. They dissolved me as a presenter at that time, but kept Mark. So the show was supposed to be finished. So I'd lost my job. Devastating. Dad died the same month. It was like bang, bang. Those moments in your life. And then I find out 6 months later that they're bringing the show back without me. So Mark and a different presenter. And it was the most painful work moment of my life. I've never spoken about this. I sort of locked it away. Like, if you're listening to this and you've had those moments in your career where you just think, I'm never going to recover from this, because I put my heart and soul into it and I felt devastated. It's like the boy at school that you've been in love with for the last 5 years, choosing another girl over you. That's but 20 times worse. And so it took me a long time to get over it. I spent a long time feeling really sad about it and really confused, and really it knocked my confidence, and I thought, God, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for this game. I can't do it. They've chosen someone else over me. I blame myself for everything. I felt it was a bad couple of years post that. At the same time, and this is where this leap of faith comes in, I'd always loved music. Always, always. I spent my teenage years in Ibiza, in every single nightclub, dancing until whatever time in the morning. And I'd always loved being around DJs and having that experience of looking up at somebody and them just creating a night that will last, forever inside. So I thought, I remember having the chat with my agent. She said, look, you're not doing any telly at the minute. It's not, it's not happening for you. So what are you going to do? And I said, I know, I'm going to learn how to DJ, which was a bit of a bold thing to do at the age of 31. Like, you've got the kids like Avicii and, the young guys that have been learning in their bedroom since they were 14 years old. And there's me, like a 31-year-old white middle class girl that's like, I'm going to get some decks and learn how to DJ. But I'm telling you, it was the best thing that I have ever done. And it has given me, oh my gosh, the happiness and the joy. I keep talking about happiness and joy, but it healed my grief from my dad. I mean, massively. It just kept me going every day. I bought myself some decks, DJing at home. I got the Head Candy radio show. I was, traveling with them, doing bits and pieces. I gigged out in Ibiza. I was doing parties. I got to do the radio show every week. And it was just, suddenly music was my lifeline. But it was a big leap of faith because it was a crazy career change. And I definitely didn't want to be one of those women that, that's like got their handbags out and was like, woohoo, like a wedding DJ. I really wanted to do it properly. Yeah. And it took a long time getting good enough to be able to play to people. I wasn't just kind of, using a pre-mixed CD. It was really important to get it right. And I did. And then I've been doing it for the last 10 years and I love it. Like, I'm going from here to DJ with my mate Nix. We're actually playing at our best mate's wedding. I am a wedding DJ. Oh my God, it's happened. But yeah, it's brilliant. And music's been, for the last 8 years, I've been at Heart, music every day. It's amazing what it's done.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. So I'm so happy they're doing it with a professional as well. You've added all the context, the stories, the highs, the lows. I mean, you've kind of said it already, but so that like real low moment when you like effectively lost your job with what was for you at that moment, like the peak, right? What was that feeling? And then what did it give you? Like, so what was the feeling that it gave initially, and then what did it give you?
Yeah, with what we do, we are under the spotlight and we're scrutinised, and people are always very quick to tell us when we're doing really, really well. People will write an article about us saying, I remember reading something saying, oh, she's going to be the next Davina and she's going to be a household name, and you don't do the dish job for that. But obviously, when people are writing it, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do it here. Like being a broadcaster, there's no guarantee you'll ever get there, right? So when you do get a job that gives you that platform to go on to do other things, you think, oh, this will lead on to this, and then I'll get to do this, and I'll get to do all of these amazing jobs that I really want to do, and do a job that I love more than anything in the world. I was so elated. It was just the best. And then when it was taken away from me in that spectacular fashion, it was crushing. Like I've obviously lost out on jobs in the past, and you have to have very thick skin, but I definitely wasn't prepared for that, because I turned up week after week, giving it the best that I could, and I felt like I'd done a really great job. And so I knew, now looking back on it, I know that it wasn't about my talent. It was about, decisions that were made internally, but it still really, really hurt me. So the lows, as I said to you earlier on, I think the worst that I've ever experienced, and a feeling of, I guess I was really embarrassed and ashamed as well, because it was embarrassing. It was painful, and it was hard for me to get my head around it.
Did it? Because it felt like a public failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you used to be the girl. Oh, you used to be the girl that did that. Oh, you used to be the girl that presented that with. That was what I was. And suddenly I was the used to be girl. And I thought, no, I'm still a presenter. And people would say, oh, what do you do? And I go, oh, I'm a TV presenter. And they go, well, I've never seen you on anything. And suddenly you just feel like you're invisible.
Yeah.
And that is a really hard pill to swallow, is to find your feet again. And it, as I said, it took me actually having the kids and stepping away and coming back with something that I've created, that I'm in control of, because I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always known that I love business. I've always run my own books and jobs and done all that stuff. Obviously, I've got amazing agents, but I was always the ideas girl. So to go away, have the children, come back with Made by Mamas, no one else is going to tell me that I'm going to lose that job. Yeah. That's mine. It'll always be mine.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. It's funny how much I like perception and expectations like affect things. So you're reading those articles and the things that are saying like you're going to be the next Davina or whatever it was, and suddenly the flashing lights is like, this is it, this is the moment,
right?
And you put all that pressure on yourself. But then it's funny again, like the space allowed you to shift the perspective after that. Then it's like what COVID did for a lot of people. Gap between reality, this is normal, we just trudge into work every day even if we don't like it, 2 years off. Well, hang on a minute. This doesn't have to be what life is like.
Yeah.
Same for you. Like, no, I don't have to just put myself in that box. I can be a DJ. I can start a podcast.
Yeah.
I can do whatever.
I can write.
I can write.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's funny that, but also the language around, the language that is spoken to us about the career that we choose, and what it is and what it isn't, is sort of spoon fed to us. And wouldn't it be great if we just let people be who they were and really support them and not kind of build them up and tear them down? There just needs to be a lot more balance in whatever we do, that everybody's just trying their best, and it's not, oh, just because I don't recognise you, it's not, you're not good enough, or you haven't done a good enough job in your life. Let's start changing that narrative.
What's hard is that everyone is reacting to their own issues.
Yeah.
So what you did for people was you did something for the ones who try and tear you down, right? You did something they were unprepared to do. So they want to see you fail. And that's the majority of people who don't have the courage to actually chase their dreams. You've done that. But it triggers
something in people, doesn't it?
Triggers something in people where they go, fuck, I'm not brave enough to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not brave enough to do it. So part of them wants to see them fail. And then when they do, then they're in the comments or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. And then that doesn't make them feel any better either.
No, and I had this conversation the other day. Somebody was talking to me about social media, saying that, every time they look at this certain person's account, they want to say something negative. And I said, how about you try, when this girl pops up and you feel jealous or you feel that you're not doing what she's doing, why don't you write something positive under her posts? Like, try telling her that you think she's amazing, or, say whatever it is that you want to write, just write a positive comment and see how. And she started doing it, and she was like, oh my God, this is incredible. It's so true. I would never think about writing anything negative or saying anything negative about anybody. There's just no way. I've got no time for it in my life. Are you the same?
Yeah, but because you value going after it.
Yeah.
You value trying. So in your system, in your makeup, it's like, why would you ever do that? Just not part of it.
No.
Which is then why, again, we find it so difficult, because can't understand you. But it's just a mixed match of those values again.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's talk about how hard the podcast is, which we were aligning on before we started. Fucking podcasts. But they're amazing for so many reasons. Yeah. And then heart as well. I'd love to finish on that.
Yeah.
So podcasts are hard, aren't they?
Podcasts are hard.
I don't think people realise how hard they are to create them, but they come with so many amazing things. So I'd just love to hear your story and experience of that.
We do 2 a week now.
Wow.
We started in lockdown in March 2020. Not the podcast. The podcast has been going since 2018, but we thought in lockdown we're just going to overload with information and conversations, keep people entertained. So we do 2 a week, thinking that we would maybe do it for 6 months or whatever. But we've been going 2.5 years doing 2 a week with no break, no seasons breaks. We just continually roll.
And is that both guest ones, or is that you?
Yeah.
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 Really?
So Tuesday we always have like a famous face, a well-known face, and then Fridays we do a Q&A with either an expert or just Georgia and I.
Nice.
And then sponsorship reads, and we'll maybe go on someone else's podcast, and we have to do pickups, ins and outs, all this kind of stuff, products that we love, bits of advice. I didn't realise when I got into it, I thought, oh, I've been speaking like this for 20 years. It would just be easy. But it is a massive commitment. But wow, what an amazing tool to be able to get into people's ears on a train or, in their car or walking around the park with their prams. I love it.
That's why I tell you, it literally changed my wife's life in probably one of the hardest moments for her, because when you create it, you don't know who's on the other side. You don't often, when you do an event and stuff, or you might get feedback every now and then in DMs and stuff, but generally you kind of make it, you enjoy the moment yourself. Yeah. You don't really know what the impact is the other side.
I know.
But it's huge.
Yeah.
People were building a relationship with you that you don't know about.
Yeah. People kind of, if I ever sort of meet people or so, they go, oh, thank you so much. They're like, we've been listening since the beginning. Yeah. But with podcasts, like you said, you don't know who you're chatting to. You don't know who you're really touching or who you're helping. And same for me. That's how I consume my podcast. When I listen to podcasts, it feels like I've got a mate in the room. I come away from a car journey thinking that was going to be boring, and it's not. I've learned, about astrophysics.
Yeah. You got to be careful. I do it when if I go to an event, then it's someone who I've been listening to. Yeah. Not to go and give them a hug and be like, hey, mate, how you doing?
How are you feeling after your illness? How do you know that?
Yeah. So personal.
Yeah, it's great.
But it's amazing, isn't it? I hate this question when people ask me it, but I want to hear
who's your dream guest?
Who's your favourite guest? Where have you come away being like, I've just learned so much about something there?
That is a great question. I don't think I've ever answered that before. Well, weirdly, it's not anybody that you'd know, but we had these two girls on and they were best friends since school. They fell pregnant at the same time and then one of them lost a baby. The other one went on to have hers. The other best friend couldn't, every time she got pregnant, she was very sadly having a miscarriage. She had 6 or 7 miscarriages. Then she had to have one of her ovaries removed. Then they said they were going to have to take her uterus out. I mean, the worst story ever. And this went on for maybe 6 years. She was trying to get pregnant. Anyway, her best friend, I think her name was Emma, she just turned around to her one day and said, "You've managed to keep hold of some eggs, right? We know. I will carry your baby." Oh my God. I mean, I got goose. She carried her best friend's baby with, you know, her best friend's eggs and her husband's sperm. And she was just the host, went through the whole pregnancy. They were all in the room together. She had a cesarean. She handed the baby over to her best friend and the 3 of them were there just cuddling and hugging. And then Emma left the room and left them together. And that's what she did for them. And I just couldn't. I was in just floods the whole podcast. What an amazing thing to do. Like, you lend your best mate your dress. Yeah. You don't hear stories like that.
No.
They're the real human stories that I love to hear.
That's incredible.
Isn't it?
They're the like put faith in humanity.
Right.
Yeah.
The one I want though is Michelle Obama.
Oh yeah.
How do we get
she's
Michelle
on my
Obama?
list.
Anyone listening know Michelle Obama? Get in touch.
I love Michelle Obama. Probably over Barack, you know.
Me too. Although Barack and his playlist, I want to really dissect that.
Did you ever listen to the Michelle Obama podcast with Barack?
No.
That's good. That's worth listening to.
That's what I'm going to do.
They talked
after
about
this.
the playlist on that.
I bet they did. I can just see them like opening a bottle of Merlot and just being like putting on, I don't know, James Brown or something and dancing.
You'd have to do that one face to face.
Yeah. Yeah. Now tell us, what red wine do you drink?
Yeah. Can I sleep over? That's so great. And I think as well, I just want to bring it up.
Yeah.
We're running out of time, so I'll just like acknowledge it for you. Like you're saying, you do all your edits for socials yourself.
Yeah.
Like there's a load of work that goes in behind the scenes. This is not even to do with the podcast, not even to do with radio, not even to do with any other jobs that you do.
Yeah.
Like you're an inspiration to a lot of people who are trying to achieve what they're trying to do. So just want to acknowledge that.
Don't. I'm emotional today, so don't be kind to me.
Me too.
Thank you, because it's a big beast. The social side of things seems ridiculous sometimes, but then we have to, you know, there are 2 sides to it. It's like you're talking to an audience who are really engaged and you want to be there for them, but you also have to come up with your content ideas, film everything, edit everything. I feel like I'm spinning 20 plates all at the same time and trying to be the best mum. So it is a lot. And sometimes I look in the mirror and I think, fuck, how am I doing this? I think it's called imposter syndrome. Yeah. Isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're like, how am I running a business? I'm really dyslexic. I can't do that. I'm just sit there and talk. But it's
But you are.
But I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks.
So hard, right? Yes. You're telling me a funny story about someone who was in recently. Like, what do you love about the job?
Oh God, I love so much. Well, I do so many different jobs there because I obviously do my shows at the weekend, but then I also cover breakfast.
So you're covering breakfast now and doing the weekend still?
I'm doing Sunday, so I'm doing 6 days out of 7. Fine. I also cover drive when Kelly Brook goes away. Yeah. And I'd get to work with JK, who's hysterical. But Jamie Theakston, I mean, not being funny, but I grew up watching him on telly. I think I had a poster. I haven't told him this. Oh God. I think I had a poster of him on my wall as a teenage girl because he was he was really hot. I tell him that. He goes, really? Used to be hot? Like, yeah, you used to be hot. No, we have a great time. I got that gig last summer. At the beginning of the summer, I got called in to demo with Jamie very, very, very last minute. And the chemistry was there. Amanda has 7 weeks off in the summer, bless her. So her schedule's brutal. So I step in and do it, and it's the best fun.
Amazing.
I'll do it forever, please.
Yeah, it's great. No, you're great at it. It's awesome.
Thank you. I love it. Yeah. So there's loads I love about my job. But and when we get funny Hollywood A-listers in the studio that don't want to wear headphones, naming no names.
Just look back on your feed. You might see them.
I'll say no more.
So we do the same 3 questions at the end of every episode. The first one is, what's one thing you've either come across or discovered that you're particularly excited about?
Botox?
Yeah. Not had that one before.
I haven't had any yet. I really want some though.
I know loads of people who have Botox.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Have you ever had it?
I've not, no.
No,
but
it's because we were having a discussion about it yesterday, and I was like, maybe this is the year. I'm turning 40.
You don't need Botox.
But I think, but maybe it's time for a little tweaky.
Maybe.
This podcast
This
This podcast that I've just discovered, yours.
Oh, mine.
Yeah,
Okay.
that I'm really excited
I love
about.
that. No one's
Yeah.
ever said that.
Oh,
Good.
there you go.
That's the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Done.
Oh, also, Yes Lube.
Okay. What's that?
It's a lubricant,
Okay.
but it's oil-based and water-based. You can get 2 different types. You can get it on Amazon. It's $11.99.
And
It's
you've
got
just-
no nasties in it.
You just discovered it yourself, or
Just discovered it myself, yeah.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Good one.
You'll thank me later.
Next one is one habit you'd encourage all listeners to incorporate into their day that's either going to support their performance or just lift them up each day.
Exercise, whether it's a walk in the park or a 10k run or a HIIT class or a yoga session, get out and exercise. It will push you and drive you to do better in your job, in your life. It will set the tone of the day. Your mental health will be better. I cannot promote exercise enough. I love it.
What's your go-to?
I like a HIIT session.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to Barry's after this podcast.
Oh, nice. I've done
When I was
Barry's.
like, I've got a really important 12 o'clock. That's my Barry's
Is
class.
it?
I can't miss it because
No, I
otherwise
get it.
it will like get in my head the whole day that I haven't done it.
No, I'm the same. Do you have the smoothie afterwards?
Always.
Yeah.
The £15 smoothies.
Yeah, that's why I go basically. Last one of these is if you take yourself back to a particularly challenging time. It could be one that we've spoken about or a different one. Imagine there's 2 versions of yourself. What's the difference between the Zoe that's gone on to achieve all the amazing things that you've done and sat opposite me today versus the one who wouldn't have managed to overcome those things and wouldn't have made it?
That's an amazing question. I have done so much work on myself, 2 years of therapy, understanding, all my kinks, how humans operate, and I am able to cope with things on a day-to-day basis so much better than I was before. I've overcome an eating disorder. There are so many big things in my life that I've managed to overcome, but I wouldn't have been able to do those things had I not done the work, really looked inside and really, really, really gone there with all the pain, all the happiness and everything else in between. You've got to be okay with all of it. So, yeah, I'd say get yourself a really great therapist.
Yeah, amazing. Basically not being afraid to do the work and look at the difficult
Exactly,
things.
there you go.
Yeah, there's no polarity.
No.
Like, we always have like the yin and the yang, the good and the bad and
Got to.
everything.
Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be a ride.
Yeah, amazing, those. Thanks so much. I wish we had more time. Now you just said that, I'm like, wow.
All right, next time, get me back. I'll
I'd
come
love
back.
to. I'd love
Thanks
to,
so much
yeah.
for having me. It's been
No.
a treat.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Go and do your berries now.
Thanks.
You have reached your destination.
Hey, it's Mark Whittle. Thanks so much for watching or listening. It's so great to have you a part of the Take Flight movement. Subscribe to the podcast on all platforms, video and audio, to be the first to see new episodes and new conversations with the greatest minds in the world. Follow me at markwhittle_TF on all social platforms and visit takeflightworld.com to join our growing community of hustlers, performers and go-getters. I can't wait to see you next time. Until then, stay positive, stay motivated, and of course, take flight.